Hey guys, it's Bryce here. Today I'm back with another video for you guys. Hope you're going to sit back, relax and enjoy. So after using these gloves for the past year and a half, I finally feel equipped to give this product a proper review. So let's get these bad boys off and get into the review right now because we don't need them on our hands anymore. These gloves are highly puncture resistant and not puncture proof. They are intended as an extra line of defense and should not replace proper handling techniques. Now that that's out of the way, let's get straight into this review. The gloves have 3 layers of high performance super fabric, which is a branded fabric. Each layer of the fabric is offset, so they're designed to provide the highest level of needle and cut protection. So when you first get your gloves, you'll put them on and feel that they're really stiff and you're not really able to move your fingers around much in them. That is because you must actually wash them with a fabric softener at 30 degrees Celsius for about 3 times. That really makes them a lot more pliable so your fingers are able to move freely in it, and over time you will be able to move your hands in the gloves a lot easier. So what I really like about the Venom Defender gloves is using them with heat sensitive species like your Lachesis, your Bushmasters, your Bothrops, which are your lancehead species, as well as any and all pit viper species. So why I'm saying this is because the Venom Defender gloves actually provide a heat signature mask when you're handling species such as your Bushmasters, which tend to strike at anything that's got a heat signature and is hot. So my friends I had this, we had heaters in the reptile room, and as you're handling the snake would continuously strike at the heater because it's setting off a nice heat temperature, and the snake's obviously upset, so that's what it thinks the threat is coming from. So when you're handling like a Bushmaster in South Africa where no anti-venom for the species is available, you're not only providing yourself with that extra layer of protection wearing the gloves, but you're also adding an extra layer of protection because the snake doesn't target your hand as easily as it normally would handling them without the gloves. In saying that, feeding your pit vipers with these gloves is a dream also, because when you're holding the tongs, the snakes don't latch onto your hand as a heat signature if you've got the rodent at a slightly cooler temperature because you haven't warmed it up properly. And sometimes the last rat you're feeding in the batch is a little bit colder because you've fed all the snakes and this is the last one. So then when you're feeding this pit viper, it'll probably lock onto your hand signature more than it would your rat because the rat is a bit cooler. Now with these gloves, that hides, or should I say masks, the heat signature of your hand. So as to feeling with these gloves, they are what you expect. They are gloves in the end. You cannot feel like you can, obviously, without wearing anything, but I do believe that extra layer of protection is important in many cases. So if you're trying to tail or hold something like your smaller elapids, like your cobras, it is pretty difficult to pick these snakes up because you don't really have much feeling on the end of your finger, as well as the glove ends after your finger ends, if that makes sense. So there's almost like this extra little gap of glove here that your finger cannot go into because of the lining inside. So that makes it pretty difficult to pick up little delicate tails and as well as feel the tails running through your hands. Although once it is in your hand, you can feel the snakes running through your fingers quite nicely, but it's just difficult to get them there and to pick them up with your fingers with these gloves. So where there's contact on the glove where your finger is, you can actually feel quite nicely, but these gloves are quite bulky, so there's a lot of extra space on the gloves that your fingers don't actually touch, so you can't feel through those areas. And as for your tiny snakes like your Angolan coral snakes. I was sexing a few of those, and these gloves really proved out to be helpful with that, because these were hatchling Aspidilops lubricus cowlesi, which is your Angolan coral cobras or coral snakes, and I could just hold the snake in the glove with full confidence that the fangs cannot go through this, and that the fangs are actually not long enough to go through the Venom Defender gloves. So that made sexing them a whole lot easier, because I didn't have to restrain the animal's neck. I would just hold the body while a friend would probe or pop the animal to make sure we know correctly what sex it is. Although I must add that one of my friends was handling a green mamba, and the green mamba tagged him just on his thumb here while he was wearing the Venom Defender gloves, and the Venom Defender gloves actually did save him, so he didn't get tagged by it or envenomated by the green mamba, but the fangs actually did go through the fabric and the venom dripped onto his thumb. So yes, it did save him, but just keep in mind, the fangs can go through this fabric, and I think that is especially true with your elapids more so than your vipers, because your vipers have longer hypodermic needles as fangs, but the elapids have a lot thinner fangs, so it might be able to penetrate the gloves more easily than that of a viper. So that's definitely a thumbs up for the gloves, because it saved him from being envenomated, but it did go through and the venom did drip onto his thumb. So keep that in mind when you are handling any sort of dangerous animal. So I really enjoy using the glove on my tailing hand, which is my left hand, because I tend to use hooks that are a lot thinner at the handle, and I can't really maneuver the hook in the way I would want to when I'm holding the snake if I have the gloves on my hand. So I prefer to just use the glove on my tailing hand, depending on the species that is. Some of the species I'll use the glove on both hands. That is especially true for scary snakes like your bothrops and your arboreal snakes that are really good at climbing. So the gloves have this sort of rubberized texture to the palms and the fingers that gives you sort of a nice bit of grip, but I actually don't really like that at all, because what I found was the snakes, when they slide through your hands, their scales actually tend to get stuck, and it's almost like the snakes are sticking to you, and then that makes them a little bit more mad. But luckily the little silicone dots, whatever you want to call them, that are acting as the grip, they came off pretty quickly in the areas that I needed them to, and I enjoy it more so like that. But just keep in mind, you can't open glass cages so nicely without that silicone rubber grip on the gloves. So here's my little test I did with my friend Izzy and a young Curvier's dwarf caiman. So first what we did was we let the caiman bite Izzy, and as you can see here, not much damage happened to him, but it was a pretty powerful pinch. And then I took the little caiman and let it bite my finger a couple of times, and honestly I couldn't feel anything whatsoever. So keep in mind that testing the gloves like this can potentially damage them and corrupt them, so that a snake fang would be able to penetrate them. But I'm fully confident that this little caiman did nothing to the gloves, just because it didn't even draw blood on my friend's skin. So now I did a kind of rudimentary test with my yellow anaconda named Daguerre. So what I did was I got this nice jumbo rat, lured her out of her enclosure with the rat, and stuck my hand in the way so she would go for the hand instead of the rat. She did that, but she didn't coil me up in any way, because she knew I was not food as soon as she bit me. Having said that, no teeth penetrated the gloves whatsoever. I've been bitten by her without the gloves before, and let me tell you, you can feel how deep those teeth actually go. They are not short teeth at all. Anacondas have some pretty impressive teeth. So I can proudly say no teeth went through the gloves, and that was a success. But one thing to remember, now that I've used the gloves holding that jumbo rat, you need to wash them, because it's got that rodent scent on it, and will likely get you a higher chance of being tagged in the glove because your hands smell like a nice juicy rat. All in all, I think this is an incredibly wise investment, especially if you keep venomous snakes, because it makes your life a lot easier. Doing simple tasks like necking a snake is so much safer with the gloves. Although I do not condone necking, and I will not neck a snake because there are other ways like tubing, and I have no need to milk the snakes I keep for venom extraction. So I think it's a wise investment to invest in. Yes, it may be expensive, but it is way cheaper than any hospital bills and can potentially save you from those hectic expenses in the future. I must admit, I don't use the gloves every time I am handling the snakes, but there are certain times where I feel more comfortable using the gloves than I would without the gloves, especially like I was saying with those intense vipers like your bathrops. Another thing that the Venom Defender Gloves has really helped me out with is bagging and unboxing snakes. That's probably one of the most dangerous things we do as keepers, especially opening boxes that we have no idea what's inside there, if the snakes are properly bagged or if they have escaped the bag. So opening the boxes with the gloves just adds that much more safety and protection on my half. So I really did enjoy that when I was unboxing a bunch of cool venomous snakes. You name it, I've probably used the gloves with those species. There is a bit of a downside with the gloves because you cannot feel every muscle twitch and movement that the snake is making when you have the snake's tail in your hands, but for many species that is okay because you are not risking your life without anti-venom available, especially in South Africa. So recap, would I recommend these gloves? Yes. Are they perfect? No, but I would still suggest you get them because they will help you in everyday situations, even if you go on call outs and rescue snakes in the wild, especially when you're sticking your hands under to lift up fridges and stuff where you can't necessarily see the snake. That's a bit of safety that could potentially save you hundreds of thousands. So these gloves were sent to me by snake professionals. The link will be down below so you can grab yourself a pair. I really do recommend it. If you already do have your own pair, please let me know what your thoughts and your experiences with the gloves are in the comments down below. Thanks guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this review. As for now, that's it. Bryce from Righteous Reptiles. Cheers guys. Peace. Remember to go out, learn, explore, inspire.